I thought the first thing I would do is say a few words about my career and how I started, and then I'll go on to say why I think a women's university is a very good thing. So my career, I was born in a small village in the middle of England, a place called Barwell. My parents were poor. We were very working class. No one in my family had been to what's called a grammar school. The grammar school is where the brighter children went, and it was the grammar school that prepared you for university. So I passed the examination to the grammar school. Not very well, but I passed it. And I went to Bristol University. I did not go to Cambridge University or Oxford. But I loved Bristol University in the West Country. And the first degree I studied was history. But I didn't like it. I didn't want to do it, but because I was the first person in my family to go to university, I thought I must finish it. So I finished it, but I knew I wanted to be a doctor. I knew by then. But it's difficult to change from the humanities, from the arts, to the science. And I was not brave or courageous, and I thought I would never be able to do it. So I did a 1-year course in what was called medical social work, because I thought I couldn't be a doctor. And I thought if I became a medical social worker, I would meet patients. I wanted to work with patients. Anyway, I did the course, so I have the diploma, but then it took me another 2 years before I could start beginning the medical degree. And in the UK, because I had no science, I had to do what's called first MB, to do my biology, physics and chemistry. And when I passed that, I could go to proper medical school, which is 5 years. So when I went to medical school, I was almost 26. So I was older than other young women who usually go at 18 or 19. So I trained in medicine and wanted to do both clinical work and research. And I chose an unusual specialty of rheumatology, which is the joints, the bones. But if you study rheumatology, you also study what are called connective tissue diseases. Lupus, scleroderma, dermatomyositis, and I became a world expert in scleroderma. It's an uncommon, very unpleasant disease. But I ran one of the biggest and best units in the world for scleroderma, so I enjoyed my medicine very much and led a big centre. I then moved away from clinical medicine to health policy and health administration, and I became a medical director of my hospital, which is a big hospital in London called the Royal Free, and from there I became president of the Royal College of Physicians, because I'm a physician. The college is 500 years old nearly, so it's very old. we've only had 2 women, and we've just elected a 3rd. So in 500 years, only 3 women have been president. And I then, after that, looked after all the medical royal colleges. There are 21 of them. So I became chairman and looked after 21 colleges. I was the first woman to do that. So I had to learn how to lead in a different way. It is very difficult looking after 21 organizations. They all think they're very good, and you have to bring them together. Then in 2006, I started to work for the government, not as a civil servant, not as a politician, but as a senior advisor. So I was independent, and I became the National Director for Health and Work. So I was interested to help the government keep people well and healthy, both mentally and physically, so that they could be in work and could work longer, because you in Japan live a very long time, but we are trying to get older people to work more for the economy, for the labour market. So I started that in 2006, and since then, that was for 5 years. And then I've gone on to continue to advise them. But when I ended that 5 years, I became the principal of Newnham College in Cambridge. So I do less work for the government now. I still advise, but I don't, I do it much less than I did it when I was full-time working for them. When I was in medicine, I spent a lot of time trying to get young doctors to become leaders. I was really interested in women going to the top of medicine, because we had too many men at the top. And I wanted more women to be at the top. And so the reason I accepted to become principal of Newnham College was because I believe that women are as good as men, that they've got brains as good as men, and that they can be equal to men. But still, in many careers, many professions, men have the top jobs and women do not. So why do I think a women's university is a good thing, or a women's college? We are a women's college in the University of Cambridge, which is a mixed university. There are 31 colleges, 3 of them are for women. So we are the oldest and the largest Newnham. But I think if you're at a women's university, you have the opportunity to grow yourself. There are no men to compete with you at the moment. You can learn who you are and what it is you want to do. And I imagine in your university, because it's a women's university, you have to chair committees, you have to sit on committees. I assume you have to learn how to begin to lead. And you can learn, I think, in a women's organisation or institution, how to build self-confidence. Many young women do not have enough self-confidence. Women are not very good at taking risks. We all run away. Women are often wanting to be perfect. You know, you want everything you do to be quite perfect. The men don't care so much. they will put things in if it's not absolutely perfect. And I want women to understand that they do not have to be perfect. I think that's really important. And often, I think if your university is good, then you will learn to be resilient. I have had lots of failures in my life, lots of things I've been very sad about, indeed that I've cried about when people have not given me the job I wanted and things were not good. Of course it's awful, but you have to just get up and go again. You can't sit there like this and just cry and go into yourself, because in life there will always be things that upset you. So I think you have to develop courage. So I think a women's institution, if you use it well, should allow you to grow a lot. And I think it starts at school. In the UK now, we are, with young women in school, trying to build self-confidence, because we think you should start very early. Because often schools think, you know, that women should do the arts subjects and men do science. And parents often think that their boys will be better at science than the girls. But quite often it's not true. Your brother may not be as good as you at mathematics, but often parents think, you know, it's my son who will be the engineer, the mathematician, the physicist. Well, why isn't it the girl who's going to be, my daughter, who's going to be the mathematician, the physicist? It's perfectly possible. So I'm very keen that parents do not sort of make their children think that only men can do the science. And I think I'm a governor of a school, one of the big schools in England, and I see that often the boys are more confident than the men, than the women. You'll also notice often in families the girls are given dolls to play with. The girls make tea. They don't imagine they can be engineers, whereas the boys, you know, they play with tractors and engines, and so it's very often the stereotype that I would like to stop. And in England, in schools, if it's a mixed school, then very few girls do physics. So this is in a mixed school. In our single-sex schools, more young ladies study physics and do physics at university. So again, there's the influence of the schools. So if I have any messages for you, it is really, first of all, to think how you can build your self-confidence. So take a few risks. I'm sure there are opportunities in your university to do something you think, oh, I don't know whether I'm good enough to do that or to partake in this. Well, have a go. If there's one message I'm going to leave you with, I don't know what the Japanese is for have a go, but it's really go for it. And think that it is all right to have a go. And don't think if you fail that you need to worry about it too much. There will be other things that you can that you can have a go for. And please don't think you have to be perfect. You don't have to tick every box to succeed. That is really, really important. Because if you think you've got to be perfect, you will never really have a go. If you're in a meeting with young men, then if you've got a question, put your hand up first, not last, because the young man will have asked the question that you wanted to ask. So put your hand up first, beat the men when asking questions. So get it up there. It's perfectly all right to be the first to ask the question. I know some people find that very difficult, but it's absolutely true. So what do I do for my young women in Newnham? I think perhaps 3 things that would be of interest to you. We have a program called Sprint, and that program is given at the end of one term. We do it in December. Our term is October to December, and then we have 2.5 days when the students stay on, and then we do it at the beginning of the next term in January. We cannot do it when the lessons are on. Cambridge is a very difficult place. I mean, you're so busy working, you can't do a course like this. And so on that course, it's designed to get you to understand who you are and then build on you. And you will all be different. You are not all the same. To really understand yourself and to try and see what your goals are. You know, what do you want to do in the next 5 years? How do you want to see your life develop? So assessing your personal potential, enabling you to perform very well, and enabling you to be assertive in a good way. I don't mean aggressive, but I do mean standing up for yourself so that people don't push you down. That's very important that women understand how to stand up for themselves politely but firmly. I believe you should always be polite. Anger doesn't help very much in many situations. I can't think of any situation easily that getting very angry is a sensible thing. And then in this course, before the end of the course, you have to develop a plan for yourself. You develop your plan, and then you have to present it to the other people on the course. So you have to set objectives. So that is, we do that for our students, and they like it. Before we start the course, we ask the students what they want to achieve. What is it that they would like from the course? I'll just read you 2 of them. I need reminding that my life is mine to succeed in and live. And a second one, before the course, lack of self-belief in my communication skills is letting me down in interviews against more assertive males. So they were the 2 things that these women wanted. After the course, Sprint works with the best of the raw materials inside you, polishes them, and brings out the best in you. And the second quote was, I now feel positive and strong and more confident. So that is a good course. And then we have what's called a life skills course. And the subjects were chosen by my undergraduates. and my graduates. The weekly, it's only an hour, 1 hour each week in term, from 6:30 to 7:30. In my lodge, in the principal's lodge, they come to me. But they chose the subjects, not me or the other academics. So I'll read 1 or 2 of them to you. They wanted an hour on resilience and well-being. They wanted to know how to be able to present themselves and their work publicly. So if they had the opportunity, how did they present themselves? They wanted to understand how to manage their money, which I thought was interesting, managing money. And my graduate students, some of them wanted to know how to start your own business. Some of them were quite entrepreneurial. They wanted a session on taking charge of your own development. So understanding how to get your academic work organized, but also the time when you were not doing academic work. How do you organize it? So Cambridge is a wonderful place, it's just wonderful. And how do you make the most of it? You know, they wanted a session on interacting with the media and press, and they wanted a session on self-defense, which was interesting, and also how you become an effective member of a chair or a committee. So I thought that was interesting, so we will start the next course in October. We're very quiet at the moment. It is the exam term, and everybody is working extremely hard for their exams. And the other thing I do in the first and second term, we have 3 terms, is I have career seminars when I get back young women who have graduated about 10 years before, to tell my undergraduates and graduates what they're doing, what the challenges are, what's good about their jobs, and then someone right at the top of their career. So they hear someone 10 years out, and they hear someone right at the top. So as you go through life, do go for promotion if you have the chance. Don't wait till you tick all the boxes. That's silly, because men go for things. If there are 10 boxes, men will have a go when they tick 2. So have a go. And yes, it's not always easy at the top, but it's very, very worthwhile.